average age of a first-time homeowner is 38, and the cost of living is higher than it's ever been. Is it even possible anymore for somebody under the age of 40 to own a home? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Tay DeWitt. I'm a real estate agent in Central Maryland. Real quick, if you're new to the channel, first off, welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. New videos come out every week. I am on a mission to make this the #1 Maryland YouTube channel in the world, and it starts with you. Really appreciate the support. Now, today, we're going to be talking about how do people under the age of 40 or people not making six-figure income with C-suite positions actually afford a house, especially if you're in my generation, the Gen Z, or in your mid to early 20s or so. You're wondering, is it possible for me to ever even own a house, or is it just some fairy tale from the past that boomers rant about, saying pull yourself up by your bootstraps and buy your first home? It's not that simple anymore. Today we're going to get into how to do it and how to make money from it, and how to do it if you don't have a ton of income at the ready. Stay tuned to the end. You're not going to want to miss it. The strategy that I'm talking about is house hacking. Now, that's a buzzword. Of course, we probably have all heard it. If you don't know what it is, essentially it's buying a property and renting out the extra space in the property to make some income and cancel out your mortgage, right? So it can be something if you have a duplex or a triplex, renting out the other units, or it can be if you have 3 to 4 to 5 rooms, you rent out by room and make income that way. Now, this allows you to not only cover your mortgage, but a lot of people are able to lower their living expenses and even make some profit while living in the property, especially if you're smart about it and you're staying with mom and dad, you get the place, you have to live there for a year. Live there is kind of a relative term, right? You can transfer your mail there, live there 2 or 3 nights a week, and then stay in your usual place. Really is a great way for people under the age of 40 and younger people to make a lot of money and own a house. Not only own one house, but this is a way to own 2, 3, 4, even 5 houses before you're even 30. This is our new way in. This is how we get into the game, right? The old way of graduate college, get a job, and buy a house is gone. It takes longer. It's harder. The cost of living is high. Unemployment is high. Inflation is high. It's tougher than it's ever been. Don't listen to all the people telling you, oh, well, you just have to work harder. It's not that simple anymore. It's not that easy to just work harder and buy a house. You have to get creative. Now, I know a lot of you are probably saying, well, I just don't have the money to get a house. Yeah, this sounds great. This sounds wonderful. I still can't afford it. Now, let me tell you how you can probably afford your first house at before the age of 30. We all know a lot of the types of loan, right? There's FHA, conventional, USDA, there's DSCR, there's a bunch of loan products out there. Today we're going to be focusing on FHA and conventional loans. With those, the minimum down payment is often around 3 to 3.5%. Some go as low as 1%, depending on your credit and your debt to income ratio. That's how much debt you have compared to how much money you bring in every month. With that being said, a lot of you are still going, well, I can't afford 3% down. For instance, if you buy a $300,000 house, you need about $9,000 to put down on the house. That's your down payment. Plus, there's other closing costs and things like that. Now, there is a program here in Maryland called the Maryland Mortgage Program, MMP for short. This program is a grant, meaning you don't have to pay this back. It doesn't affect your interest rate or anything like that. This is just free money. In this grant, you can get up to 3 or 4% in down payment assistance, meaning they can completely cover your down payment and then some, and completely knock out your closing costs. In order to qualify for the MMP, you have to have 2 things. First, a credit score of at least 640, and you can't exceed a household income or individual income of $180,000 a year. Now, according to the United States Census Bureau, only about 9.5% of people in the United States make between $150,000 and $199,000 a year, meaning the majority of people are going to qualify for MMP, right? Meaning you can knock out your down payment completely. This is free money. Why turn it down, right? Why just turn a blind eye to it, right? If you have those 2 things, you qualify, right? Now, again, you need about 3 to 3.5% in down payment. So we have that part covered, right? What about closing costs, things like that? Yes, there are additional costs, which we can go over with your house. Normally, you're going to pay about 1 to 2% extra in closing costs. Now, again, you can get up to 4% in the down payment assistance, meaning if you can come up with another 1.5%, for those of you that aren't too good at math, on 300,000, that's $3,000, $3,500. If you could come up with that or find somebody to give you that, talk to mom and dad, tell them, hey, I want to buy a house. Can you give me $3,500 to do it? I'm almost certain a lot of us can figure out how to come up with $3,500. Even if you don't have it, there are creative methods, there's other ways that we can find that money for you. Let's compare house hacking to other investment strategies, right? We know about rentals, Airbnbs, house flipping, and other things like that that everybody tells us you can do with virtually no money, and it's simply not true. You have to have some money in order to do these things. First off, getting a rental property. Now, when you're getting a rental property, normally you're going to use what's called a DSCR or hard money loan. With those types of loans, you're going to need 20 to 25% down in order to qualify. Plus, you're going to need a 700 credit score. You're going to need a certain debt to income ratio. And it's really hard to come up with that money. For instance, for that same $300,000 house, in order to use a DSCR or a hard money loan, you're going to need $60,000 to $70,000 in order to close on that house. Now, I'm sure it's a lot easier to find $3,500 versus $70,000. Okay, that is insane. That's really difficult for people to come up with and save their way to. And again, you might as well just wait till you're 40 to buy your first house. Then on top of that, you have risk of vacancy, right? If you can't get that place rented out, now you have to cover that mortgage. You have to pay for that, and you're not even living there. If something breaks, you have to pay for it. And with a rental, you're normally getting $300 to $500 in income. $300 a month times 12, you're making what, $3,600 a year, right? One thing breaks in the house, that is gone completely, right? So there's just such a high risk with regular rentals. With flipping properties, you almost got to come 100 grand out of pocket in order to get your first flip, right? People say, oh, well, you can use other lenders and stuff. Money is expensive. I mean, you have to pay interest, you have to pay closing costs, you have to pay points on these loans. You still have to come up with like 50 grand in order to qualify. Again, that's really tough. Airbnbs is the same thing. There's risk of vacancy. There's the cleaning fees. There's the issue of if you can't get somebody to use it, you still have to pay on that property. These are all great opportunities if you have the money. This video is focusing on people that don't have it, right? You just don't have the money to do these traditional methods, but you know you want to own a home before you're 40. Like, why house hacking works. Again, that $300,000 property, you have to come up with about $9,000. Let's say you don't qualify for the MMP, then I'm sure if you're making $180,000 a year, I'm sure you can come up with $9 grand to close on a property. Plus, from that, you can make up to $2,000 a month with house hacking, right? Let's say you have a property that's 4 rooms. You take the smallest room and you want to make more, right? So you rent out your other rooms. If you could rent out each room for $800 or so, right? That's 3 rooms. 8 times 3 is what? $2,400 a month. Come on, that's a lot better than the $300 and $500 a month you get from a traditional rental. And again, you have to live there, but that's kind of a relative term, right? Forge your mail there, sleep there a couple days out of the week, establish your residency, and then go about your life, right? Most of us have parents or a significant other that we stay with most of the time anyway, right? So you don't even have to deal with living with a bunch of other people. Also, if you're living at home with family and you have siblings and you have parents and grandma comes over twice a week, you're living with people anyway. You might as well make some money to do it, right? And now you don't have your parents on your back. You don't have a bunch of people judging you saying, why haven't you moved out yet? When they're not even realizing that the economy is so bad that you can't. Right? This is the way in. This is the golden ticket, right? I'm giving it right here for free. The golden ticket, the number one way for you to break into the housing market, start building that wealth and start building equity. Now, I want to give you a realistic client success story, right? I worked with a client. He said he wanted to house hack, right? He was approved for about $350,000, very well off young man, right? He didn't want to use all 350. He said, I want to stay around the 250 price range just to save some money. That's fair. Just because you qualify for it doesn't mean you have to use it, right? So we begin this journey. We're looking for houses. We find the right house. It's listed at about 250. We end up going under contract about 225, right? So that's 25 grand right off the bat that we got him. We were able to get $10,000 back in concessions, and that completely covered his entire closing costs. So now he has no money out of pocket when buying this first house. He bought a 4-bedroom house, stayed in one room, rented the other three, right? He rented them all for about $800. Now he's making 24 grand a year from that house. He's getting about $2,000 every month in profit after his mortgage, right? His mortgage is paid, his living expenses are covered, the utilities are covered, all from the other people in this house. Now, he has a significant other that lives about 30 minutes away. He stays there twice a week and then goes stays with her for most of the time. So now he's making passive income from this property. And this young man has gone on to buy two and now looking for his third property. And he's 27. He's not even 30 yet, and he's about to own 3 houses in his name, all generating income. Right? This is the golden ticket. I'm telling you, if you're not going to use this strategy, then I don't know what to tell you, right? You might have to wait until you're 38 or you find some 6-figure job in order to qualify. If you want to build wealth quickly, this is the way in. Real quick, if you've made it to this point of the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's get this to the #1 Maryland YouTube channel in the world. I need your help to do it. Really appreciate the support. Lastly, I'm going to talk to you very frankly. I'm going to give you some of the realities of the situation. I hear a lot of people say, well, I just don't want to live with other people if I'm buying a house. That's fair. This isn't for everybody. This is not something that I'm saying everybody has to do. If that's not your preference, that's fine. That's completely okay, right? I understand it. Some people don't want to deal with the pressure of having to do maintenance on a house, right? If you own this, yes, you still have to cover the expenses, right? If something breaks, if the water goes out, something like that, you have to cover that. Now, you're generating so much income that it's really not that big of a worry, but some people just don't want to deal with it, and that's fine, right? Nothing I'm telling you is law and you have to do it and it's the only way you'll ever own a house. It's not true. But I do believe that this is a way for the younger generation, Gen Z and younger millennials, to own a home earlier in life. And we all know when you own a home earlier in life, normally you can start to own more than one. Imagine if you're 30 and you have 5 houses bringing you $2,000 and $3,000 a month. That's a completely different lifestyle. That's another 60 grand every year in your pocket. That's a completely new life by the time you're 30, right? Most of us, we want to get married and have kids. Imagine if you did that and didn't have to worry how you're going to make ends meet. Imagine if you did that and you didn't have to stress about finances. Am I going to own a home and I need a higher paying job? And oh no, now I have a kid coming. How am I going to be able to feed them and take care of them and give them the things that they want? Imagine if you didn't have that worry. This is the way in. This is the start of it. Yes, it's not easy to live with a bunch of people you don't know. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. I've had clients call me and say, hey, Tay, I hate my tenants. They're awful people. They're terrible. They're annoying. Yes, you might run into that. I've had clients call me and say, oh yeah, they're great. They're quiet. They go to work. They come home. They really don't make a bunch of fuss. They don't make a mess. It really just depends. Again, this is not for everybody. But if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to put in the time, if you're willing to put in that effort and just grit your teeth, put your head down, get through that 5-year period or so, own these houses, generate that income, it will set you up for life, family. I'm telling you this seriously. This is not the same world we lived in way back when. Back in 1980, the average age of a first-time home buyer was 25. Now it's 38. Home prices are only getting higher. Inflation is only getting higher. Unemployment is only getting higher. It's getting harder and harder to own a home, especially for the younger generation. Mima and Pop Pop bought their house for $30,000 and now it's worth $2.5 million. There's no way that we can afford that. Or I'll say the majority of people can't afford that. And to get a house now for $60,000 means it's probably uninhabitable. You got to put even $200,000 into it to be able to live there. This is the way in. This is how we break the barrier. This is how we jump that wall and get out of this rat race and this cycle of everybody telling us that we have to work harder and that we got to lace up by our bootstraps. Did you know that that phrase actually comes back during segregation and Jim Crow, where it says lace up by your bootstraps because it's impossible to do? or to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. It's impossible to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. That's why they came up with the term. So they have to do this impossible thing in order to succeed. That's what people are telling us to do. That's the origin of the phrase. So when they say it to the younger generation, oh, they're not working hard and they got to pick themselves up by their bootstraps. The truth of the matter is they're telling us to do something impossible. You're working harder. You're looking for the opportunity, and the opportunity isn't there. This is that opportunity. Let's go out and make it. If this has moved you to start this journey or even see if it's possible, one, you need to reach out to us, right? My information will be somewhere on the screen and in the description below. Just text me the word house hack and I will send you my full comprehensive house hacking guide, right? I don't care where you live in the country. I don't care who you are, how old you are. I will send this to you absolutely for free. If you want to take this step in the Central Maryland area, reach out to us. Every day we have people just like you reaching out, wanting to start this journey, whether you're a year out, 5 years out, or the next 5 days you need to find a house. Doesn't matter. We want to talk to you. We want to help you. And I especially want to help you break that barrier, get into home ownership, and start building wealth. Thank you for tuning in and staying to the end. As always, have a fantastic day.